A CGL policy provides fire coverage. If your property burns, it will pay you the fair market value or the cost of repair, whichever is less. It has property damage, same thing. If it's destroyed by flood or a truck hits it or a plane crashes into it, insurance will kick in there. If you're in the manufacturing business and you send out products into the world, a CGL policy provides products coverage. If a product is defective and someone is hurt as a consequence of it, the products coverage kicks in. Completed operations coverage is also there. That is, if you are if you're a carpenter, you build custom bookcases into a house, the job is finished, you leave, you are paid, and 6 months down the road, they put one more book on it, and the whole thing comes crashing down and hurts somebody because no one put a screw into the stud. Your completed operations coverage kicks in and you're protected from liability there. Premises coverage is what every hotel has and every business has. If you trip and fall over tape on a floor with a cord under it and hurt a knee, the hotel, as well as the sponsor organization and whoever put the tape down, will be protected by the premises liability coverage. Similarly, you have operations coverage. Even if you do work on other locations in a particular job site, you're protected there. You have independent contractors negligence coverage. That is, if you contract out a job to a separate company and they are negligent, your insurance will protect you from being sued because of something they did wrong. There's advertising coverage. That's self-explanatory. There's personal injury coverage, which is kind of unique because normally you can't get coverage for intentional acts. In other words, you're protected only from being clumsy or negligent or stupid. You're not covered for intentionally harming someone. If I drop my pistol and it goes off and hits you, that's probably covered. If I aim it and shoot, it's not. You see the difference. Personal injury coverage is different because it covers a very limited number of offenses that you can cause. Libel and slander, trade disparagement, even if you do it intentionally, you're protected. So if you want to say that your competitor are dishonest and sloppy and a scumbag and shouldn't be trusted, and you get sued because of that, your CGL policy will protect you. It will hire a lawyer to defend you and will pay any sort of damages you may be entitled, or the other folks are hurt, up to policy limits. Med pay coverage, you have it on your home, you have it in your car. If someone gets hurt, your fault, nobody's fault, there'll be a certain amount of medical coverage available immediately. Sometimes the CGL policy will also double as a commercial automobile policy. Now, the problem is, and the thing that causes most of the controversy when it comes to the examples I provided in the booklet, is there are a number of things that are not covered. I talked about one of them a moment ago as intentional acts, but the CGL policy excludes 15 things. We talked about an expected and intended injury. You're not covered if you act deliberately. If in your contract you agree to pay the subcontractor's debts, if they don't, your insurance doesn't help you with that. If you have a happy hour on the job site and bring a keg in for the workers and they get liquored up and go home and hurt someone on the way, there's no coverage for that. Liquor liability is something you have to purchase separately. Workers' compensation, the same thing. You have your own workers' compensation policy. If you don't have a workers' comp policy, then your CGL is not a substitute for it. You need both. There's a, if you have someone who works for you who claims sexual harassment or discrimination based on race or education or ethnicity or religion or what have you, and brings a claim against you, that is normally not covered under a CGL policy. You need to have a separate employer's liability coverage for all that stuff. Pollution exclusion. Pollution is defined rather broadly in the exception. If you spill fuel oil on a job site and ADEQ comes in and charges you tens of thousands of dollars to clean up the soil and make it pure and lovely again, that will not be covered by insurance. You can get a separate pollution coverage, but pollution is pretty broad. If someone is harmed by inhaling fumes on the job site, where some sort of toxic resin is being used and your workers all have masks and the guy working next door doesn't and he inhales some stuff, chances are the insurance company will take the position, well, that's pollution. That one's debatable, but just be aware that's pretty broad. Likewise, aircraft, auto, and watercraft, get your own policy for those. That's not covered by a general business policy. Sand rail owned by the business, nope. If you're in a war zone, nope. If you have care, custody, and control of rental equipment and it is damaged by your workers, insurance may not cover that. That's an issue that's often litigated and it's kind of a close call in a lot of cases. If your work destroys itself, that's not covered. And this is the big one. If there is damage to your own work, and this is the issue that really is at the heart of a lot of litigation concerning contractors' claims. There is an exclusion in the policy that says if you put up a bookcase that is shoddy and it needs to be redone, the insurance will not pay if you get sued because of defective workmanship. In other words, it will not pay to repair or replace the bookcase. It will protect you if the bookcase falls and hits somebody, but not the bookcase itself. Likewise, if you do put the bookcase in and you use a pneumatic nailer to put it into the wall and you run that into an electrical box where you've screwed up the entire electrical system or through a sewer pipe or whatever, insurance will kick in to repair the damage of someone else's work that's caused by your work, but just not your work itself. Insurance is not a performance bond. And likewise, the property damage to impaired property, that's sort of self-explanatory. Sometimes the CPSC, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, will issue recalls. I doubt that you folks are in the manufacturing business, so that probably is never going to apply to you. And the employment practices, if someone gets their feelings hurt because they've been discharged, or if they are legitimately have a claim because they've been discharged without cause and turn around and sue you, your CGL policy does not protect you. Now, the one thing you need to understand is that an insurance policy gives you two promises. One is we will defend you on our nickel. The other is we will indemnify you or pay you whatever you are adjudicated to owe as long as there is coverage. Sometimes, and actually all the time, the duty to defend is broader than the duty to indemnify. For example, you've got a fella on the job site that's working for you who gets into a fight with another man and breaks, there's a craniofacial fracture, breaks bones in his head. And you, as the employer, are sued. And it says, your employee negligently the plaintiff in the nose with his elbow. And that caused the fight, but the strike with the elbow broke his face. That is covered. If the complaint says that your employee stepped forward and deliberately punched him in the face and broke his face, that is not covered. Sometimes a complaint will sound in both. It will say he intentionally did it and we need to get compensated, or he negligently did it. In that circumstance, the insurance company has two claims, one that's covered by insurance and one isn't. That's where the duty to defend comes in. The lawyer called upon to defend the case has to defend against both of them. What's more, he cannot get the negligence claim dismissed all by itself, so you, the policyholder, are left holding the bag on the intentional act. He always has to act in your best interest, okay? So, because the insurer has this much broader duty to defend than it has to indemnify, your job as a cunning and helpful employee of your company is to trigger insurance to help you in legal defense costs as well as potential for indemnity.